Hi, so today I'm going to show you how to make like a really basic lolita skirt, which you could also use for generic kawaii fashion. And this is just something to do if you're a real beginner to sewing, so it's really nice and simple. So the first thing we've got is the fabric. So if you saw my other video I've done, this is the leftover 2 meters that I mentioned in the video. So this is 2 meters in length by 120 meters. 100 meters? No, that's not right. It's 2 meters in length, but it's 100. No, it's what? No, it's 2 meters in length, but it's 1.2 meters in width. 120 is ridiculously long. So this is 2 meters in length by 1.2 meters in width, and this is just width that standard fabrics come in. There's 2 widths, and I can't remember off the top of my head. One of them's shorter, one of them's longer. I think this is the shorter one. But anyway, I've got 2 meters here, and I've got some form of decoration. So this is some lace left over from the project. You could put ribbons on, you could put pretty much whatever on, whatever you want to do. And here's the key thing, is some elastic, because this is going to be what's going to keep the skirt on your waist. So this one is 32 millimeters across. You can pretty much choose what width you want. Obviously the wider it is, the more comfortable it will feel on your waist. So I would choose one on the thicker side. And what we're going to do with the fabric is we're going to cut it in half, but we're going to cut it in half lengthways. So can I show you here? Yep. You can see this fabric's been folded up, I think widthways, like this. What we're going to do, what's going on here? So we're going to take the 2 long edges, which are the selvages, and we're going to put them together. So the shorter width across is what you want here, because we're going to cut all the way along the longer edge, along the 2 meters edge in this case, and then we're going to use 1/2 of it to be the skirt. So you can sew them together and have like a really poofy 4 meters skirt, but just for the purposes of this, I'm just going to show you how to do it with 2 meters, and you can make it as full or not as full as you want. So let's just start off with cutting along here. So here's the fun part. So one reason we've done a salvage to salvage cut is because you'll have one edge which is like machine finished, so you don't need to worry about finishing the edges. So I can just put this ribbon on the edge to disguise it, and I don't need to worry about fraying or anything. And I think I'm going to put ribbon a few more rows on the fabric. It just depends really how much I have. I only have this at the moment, so I'll just use it until I don't have any more. But honestly, you can do pretty much every pattern you want. If you're stuck for ideas, I would just go and look at like old school photographs. A common row idea I was doing is something you'll see a lot. You could also do vertical. You could also do vertical stripes with lace. You could use ribbons and do something else with that. I would just go have a look at old school photographs, try and get some inspiration. You may even get inspiration from somewhere else. This is honestly just the fun part. Just do whatever you want and just make it your own. Okay, so I've just done 2 layers of lace just because that's the amount of lace I have. I'm all out of lace now. So I'm just going to show you how to sew. So you could sew using a sewing machine, just using a normal basic running stitch. But if you don't have a sewing machine, you can also hand sew. So I like to do something called a running back stitch, which is, well, 1 back stitch and then a few running stitches and then a back stitch. And then you can do as many running stitches in between as you want, but this will be something that won't take as long as a pure back stitch, but it will still provide some sort of resistance and strength in the stitch itself, which is good for something like a skirt because it's not really taking any tension or anything. So I'll just show you how I do that. So I'm just going to take this pin out. And we're going to go into the fabric, and then we're going to take our needle and go back out, and then we're just going to put it through. But we're going to leave some thread visible on this side, right here. And then we're going to put our needle approximately where that little bit of thread there is. So we're going to put the needle through. We can put it completely through. And then we're going to find approximately where the stitch starts here. And we're going to pull that through. And as you can see, it creates pretty sturdy knot. So then I'll normally do another back stitch. So I'm going to go in and then I'm going to go out. And we don't need to worry about keeping a bit of thread free because the stitch has already been started now, so we can just pull it completely. And then we're going to find approximately where the previous stitch has begun, and we're going to go through that. And then we're going to go approximately where this thread is here. We're going to go out, and then we're going to pull through. And then that will be the back stitch, and then you'll do a few running stitches. I just tend to do 3 because I like the number 3. And then so we're just going to go in and then out and then in and then out and then in and then out and then pull through. And we'll do another back stitch, so we'll find where the previous stitch started approximately, and we'll take the needle through, and then we'll find approximately where this thread is, and then we'll put the needle through, and then there. And you'll just keep doing that through the whole, in this case, 2 layers of lace. And yeah. Okay, so I've sewn on the lace bits here, and I've just turned the fabric the way around. So we're gonna sew on the waistband, or yeah, begin to construct it. So I've just got the lace here to measure the width, and I've just literally put it across here. So when I construct the waistband, I know it's going to be big enough. So we're going to leave this much fabric. It looks like about 2 centimeters bigger, 2 or 3 centimeters bigger than the actual elastic. because what we're going to do is we're going to fold over the fabric, and then I'm going to pin it in place like that. And if I just keep pinning that, I just pin to this edge. Yeah, and you'll see we'll sew along here with, I would use a back stitch for this because it's going to take a lot of tension, or just your normal machine running stitch, so we can eventually thread the elastic through here and it will have enough space to actually be threaded through. That's the main thing. And also that means this raw edge is hidden inside the fabric, so we don't even need to think about it or finishing or anything. So there's also the raw edge on the shorter sides, so just for time purposes, what you can do is, because it's being sewn on the inside, you won't see it, and it's not really going to be taking any tension, so it's not that essential. You could just leave it as it is if you're not going to wash it that often or put the fabric under much agitation, because that's where the fraying comes from. Or you could use pinking shears, which are zigzag scissors that make that a zigzag stitch you'll see, and that will prevent fraying. Or you could do the method which is similar to this, where you'll just fold it over once and fold it over twice until you can't see any raw edges, and then you would pin along that edge and then just sew it with a running back stitch or machine stitch again. But for now I'm just going to leave it. We're going to pretend it doesn't exist, but if you want to elevate the skirt a bit more, you could finish it in one of those ways. So yeah, just fold down an amount of fabric, make sure it's slightly bigger than the elastic that you're going to use, and just pin all the way across, sew all the way across, and yeah, just do that. If you're struggling with keeping the width of the waistband consistent, I would every now and then just check with a tape measure that the width is fine, or what I could do is I could just use my pattern cutting tool to draw a straight line, or you could probably just even use a ruler. This is just a line. It's not really a complicated shape, but I'm just thinking if you're a beginner and you don't have many tools, you probably don't have a pattern cutting tool, so I would say go with the tape measure method, or just if you can find a ruler somewhere that's really long, because the fabric is quite long. So if you're struggling with maintaining the width of the waistband here, you could get a ruler and try and rule it across a consistent length. The fabric is quite long, so it's quite arduous. So what I tend to do is I just do it by eye, and I am aware it's something that's a trained skill that I can do, and you're probably not going to find easy to do, especially for a beginner. But I would still do it by eye, but just keep going every now and then with a tape measure or a ruler or something, just to make sure that the width is constant. Literally, even if you wanted to, every time you wanted to fold a new piece to pin down, you could just literally measure it to make sure that that area is fine. So I finished sewing the waistband, so we need the elastic. So I've cut a piece that's about 6 inches smaller than my actual waist, because elastic stretches, and I like having a kind of snug fit. But if you want a looser fit, you could cut it a bit wider. It really does just depend on like your personal body size and just what you enjoy. But anyway, I've cut out the piece of elastic and I've put a little safety pin on the end, and this is a common trick you use when you feed things through, because you need to feel for something as you feed it through. So this one's pretty simple. It shouldn't be too hard because the fabric is quite chunky. So we just, with the safety pin side, we're going to just put that in, and I'm just going to feed it through until we get the other end to the other start of the fabric. It's just a lot easier if I show you. we just kind of really roughly So when we get to the other end that's here, one problem you can get if you get a bit too focused into it, I get this end lost in the waistband, and then you have to try and get it out, and that's a lot of effort. So I always just get a pin and I just pin the elastic to the end there, so that just stays in place, and then we just have to worry about finding the safety pin here and just pulling things through. Although, and you get like pleated kind of crease bits here because it creates a lot of bulk. You can also latch onto that and just kind of feed that through a bit, but just find the safety pin and just feed the fabric through and just keep doing that until you get to the other end. Alright, so once you got this end, we're just gonna get a pin and I'm also gonna secure it like that.
I think she needs to see me. To see I'm happy now. And that's it. For me and her. So she can accept it. Do you understand? Why did she not call in when you said she might? She couldn't face it. She thought it better not to, and now she regrets it. Be 2 nights at the most. Dwell on it. And as I say, if you don't want me to go, then...
Okay, so it's starting to look a bit like a skirt. You can probably just about see. So the last thing we have to do is sew these edges together. So this is going to be really easy. You can also just going to make the waistband a bit more consistent, but this is something you can also just do whenever. It's not a permanent fixture. You can mess around with that as much as you want, really. But anyway, we're going to just pin these 2 edges together. And then we're just going to do another running back stitch down it, or you could do a just generic, again, machine stitch that you've probably been doing if you're using the machine. And as I mentioned earlier, there are going to be these raw edges, so I'm going to just leave them as they are, just again for time purposes. But if you also need to be quick and you need to do things like regularly wash it or put the edges under quite a bit of tension, again, just use pinking shears, which are those scissors that are all zigzag looking. Or again, you can do the method where you just fold over the raw edge and then you'll just sew. I'm also probably going to do a fairly big seam allowance because in the future I think I might actually finish these edges. So I'm probably gonna have the seam probably more that big, but I mean, I'm really good at doing it by eye, so I'm not too fussed about the pin placement, so I tend to do about 1.5 centimeter seam allowance because that's just how I was trained, but it doesn't really matter in this skirt. And because it is like a elasticated skirt, it's really good for like if your weight changes or if different people need to wear the skirt. So you don't have to worry as much about leaving a big seam allowance to take it in or let it out. So honestly, don't even worry about that. Just, I would say, if you are gonna leave the end roll, make sure the edge isn't the edge. Make sure the seam isn't right up to the edge because then it will be caught in the fraying and everything will fall apart. So yeah, and do the thing and it'll be fine. No one can see the seams because they're on the inside. No one will ever know if you decided to finish this edge or not. Just like in many a historical garment. Just keep pinning, just keep pinning, just keep pinning, it's fine. Alright, so now I'm just gonna running back stitch this and then that's it. So let's just quickly finish that. So this is what it looks like on a person. Well, not a person, on a mannequin. But looks a bit better than being a mound of fabric on the floor.